Hello, everyone, and welcome to Positively Board Gaming. I am Mitchell Whitfield, joined by my incredible. You know what? I have to get more out. He's such a great person and great at what he does. Jamey Stegmeyer. Let's not make drag this out anymore. Jamey, how are you?
I am excited to be here for episode 32 of our podcast together, Mitchell. This has been a joy, and I'm excited about today.
Okay, see now I am too, but see you fell into the trap, Jamey. So let me tell you what's happening here. I was purposely not giving this episode a number.
Okay. It may not be episode 32. This could be
That's
any number.
that's what I was going to say
Yeah.
because see now, we obviously we do these sequentially. We number these episodes. We are doing some extra episodes. I'm telling our audience this purposely because we actually don't know with the holidays coming. Of course, we have Halloween days away. We have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, depending on whatever you celebrate, happy early. But depending on when this episode actually airs, Jamey,
Yeah.
it could be Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah. It could be anything. So we want to make sure that we have new content for you guys every week. And because we're going to be traveling and the holidays and schedules, so we are banking a few episodes. So Jamey, I didn't know if you were going to go and do the actual numbering because genuinely we don't know if this will be 32. We could. All right. How about this? Temporarily, it's 32. We reserve the right to renumber this at a later date when we actually give the following episode a number and go, hey, last week that was about. So what do you think? I mean,
That's it. You make an excellent point. We are doubling up on recordings this week, and you're right. We don't know exactly which order these will be released in, and so I guess, and that is the possible. That's possible for any episode in the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a great point, Mitchell. Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff. We are men of mystery. We have things going on in our lives. Speaking of things going on in our lives, Jamey, do you have well, it doesn't have to be a food or sweet treat of the day, but do you have a treat of the day that you'd like to share? And you don't have to. There's no pressure here. Just everyone's listening and judging. But don't you worry. No one is listening. Go ahead. If you happen to have one, I don't know.
I will say my treat of the day is every now and then. I love reading. I read every night for around 45 minutes, fiction. Usually I read fiction. And I love what I read, but every now and then I'm reading a book that I am excited to go to bed for so I can get back to that book. And that book
That's
right
awesome.
now,
Yeah.
and I know you're dabbling into the Mistborn universe too.
Yep.
This is unrelated to that, but this is a book called Heaven Breaker. And it reminds me the most of Red Rising, a book series that I loved enough that I made a game about it. And so I'm just really, really loving this book called Heaven Breaker. And I am excited to have that type of book where I'm just excited to cozy up and go to bed and read for 45 minutes or so every night.
Is it fiction? I mean, no, sorry. Is it a fantasy fiction? Is it fantasy or?
It is science fiction. So it's set in the
I love
future,
sci-fi.
but it uses I found that I really like science fiction that also feels a little bit old. And Red Rising did that too. That Red Rising has a competition that takes place that feels old. And this book has space jousting. So as far as I understand from reading just a little bit of the book, you get into this giant mech suit and you do like a medieval style joust in space against someone else with a giant mech suit. And once I read that was like the hook that I read, and I was like, I'm in for this. I need to know more.
Now, of course, I'm thinking of a no gravity situation. I'm sure there's gravity here.
There's
no gravity?
Yeah.
So really, you get jousted, you could endlessly go flying backwards for eternity. The way that space works, I'm just saying, I'm just putting my literal spin on it. It's a literal spin on this thing. Yeah.
I think they might be in some sort of a tube and they're kind of shot out at each other. So they can't go out into space, but they can get quite hurt by doing this in space.
This is Heaven Breaker, you said?
Heaven Breaker. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing this down. See, folks, this show isn't just for you. It's also for me because I learn new stuff from Jamey all the time, new games, new books, new foods. Heaven Breaker.
Have you kept up with Mistborn, or how's that going?
I haven't. I continued a little further. Mm-hmm. I was bad this week, but I'm going to go back into it. I got distracted because some new RC crawler cars came out, and I got a little distracted. I've been doing some building at night instead of reading, but I'm jumping back on the horse this weekend. So more reports to come. Still enjoying very, very much, and I know I'm going to be way into this, and then the series beyond. So don't you worry. You've definitely got me down the right path.
Do you have any treats?
My treat is, so Tracy and I think we talked about it together on and off the air. We have our standing Friday night date night, where we usually go to Los Agaves, which is a local restaurant here in Westlake Village. I think they have a few more locations, but we go to Westlake Village location. Great Mexican food, relaxing, great margaritas. But we're doing a midweek date night in addition. So it feels so naughty. Jamie. So we are going to Finney's, which is a local like microbrewery / pub, and gonna go get a burger, and Tracy might get a veggie burger there. And they make their own craft beer that she loves there, and it's just it's a really nice atmosphere, and it's one of those places that every once in a while let's go to Finney's. I have a craving for Finney's, so we go together, and we're having our midweek treat, a midweek date treat. So I feel like we're doubling 2 dates in 1 week. That's crazy talk, Jamie.
That's delightful. I love that you still have regular date nights. I mean, yeah, that's wonderful.
It's so much fun, and it's just like we enjoy spending time together, and that's just some way we could just sort of celebrate together, being together, on a weekly basis, and just not forget how much fun we have, Yeah. So it's fun to have romance. I'm talking. A little romance ain't bad. A little romance in your life, Jamie, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about over here. All right. Before we start, do you have a before we start?
I do. I had a little, just like a mini question for you today.
Absolutely.
Tied to something that I'm doing. I'm in a fantasy football league for the first time in a long time. I think we've talked a little bit about how I've done fantasy baseball with the same group of people for like since college. So like 25 years, I think, maybe more. But this year I heard about this new guillotine league where every week the person who has the lowest score gets cut out of the league. They're out, and all their players go back into the waiver pool for other players to pick up. So every week there's kind of the feeling of a little bit of a draft, which is, the really fun part of these fantasy leagues. But it's vicious. Yeah, I see the expression on your face.
That's brutal.
It is brutal, but it adds a ton of tension every week.
Of course.
I am paying attention more than I paid attention to fantasy baseball, because I'm like, is this going to be the week? And I barely survived this week. I just barely survived. So it was on my mind, and I was wondering, do you do any fantasy sports? Have you dabbled in that?
I was in a running fantasy football league for about 20 to 30 years.
Okay.
It was one league that broke off into another one, and it stopped about 5 years ago. And it's funny, I was just talking to one of my friends who was also in that league. I said, "Oh, I haven't missed it. I've enjoyed just watching football without the stress."
Yeah.
But now I'm sort of getting that itch when I watch, because again, you're doing something for 30 years. It's like, and so I was a big fantasy football guy for a long time. And now I'm getting the urge, and my buddy is like, "Well, if we have an opening, we'll definitely bring you in." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm sort of getting the urge to dabble again. But yeah, it was a huge part of my sporting experience for decades. And I will tell you that it was sort of nice when I stopped for a while, just to get the enjoyment back of watching a game without well, I don't care if he wins, as long as they score a touchdown. And even if like someone I'm playing, my real team, my real football team in real life is playing against another team, I'm like, well, I don't mind if they get scored on, as long as it's that other guy that scores again. It's craziness. And it's it sort of skews the way you watch the sport in a fun way, but also in a semi-stressful way. So I've enjoyed not having that stress while watching, but I will definitely dabble back. How many teams are in your league to start? Like 20 something? Because
you can start with a lot. Yeah. I think we started with 17, but we could have gone higher. Because it's every team starts out with some players that you probably wouldn't normally put on a fantasy team, but then after 1 week, some really good players are cut, and then so on. Yeah.
So there really aren't any playoffs. The end of the season, whoever is left standing wins the league. There's no actual playoff system. It's during the regular season, whatever. At the end of the season, there's one team standing.
Exactly. I think for the last week of the season, there will be 2 teams, and
right. But I mean, when
the lower score will be out. Yeah.
Right. So there's no fantasy play. That's actually kind of interesting, and incredibly stressful. If watching the sport in general, if watching with fantasy is stressful, doing it with a guillotine league is incredible. That's Jamie. You have to tell me how this plays out, because now you got me in. Now I'm in. Now I kind of want to. So how's your team doing? You didn't get booted.
I didn't get booted, but that's where the stress is interesting, because if you are having a bad week, it is stressful. It is tension. There's tension. You're paying attention. Right. If you're having a good week, you kind of don't have to think about it all that much. You're just like, it's like you're not at risk of getting cut if you're having a good week. And it avoids the thing in some fantasy leagues where you just have a really bad team that season, and you just have to wait out the season.
Live with it.
This one doesn't put you through that pain because you're out.
That's true. Although if you are having a really good week, I assume so the team that gets cut, those players that get distributed, are they randomly back in a pool and there's like a draft to reacquire them by the other players? Or how do you have to go into like the free agent wire and sort of do that digitally? Because I'm wondering, if you are having a good week, you still have to look at your league and see who's having a bad week and start looking at those players to see which ones you may want to acquire and who on your roster would have to. I'm already like into it. Look at what you've done to me.
Yeah, that's next level. I'm not even there yet.
I'm telling you, it's like I start scouting those bad teams. Like, all right, who am I going to get if I'm not out this week? That means I'm in, and I want one of those players. I mean, come on.
I haven't gotten there, but it is fun on Tuesday to sign on and see. Oh, all these players are now available, and they're available. Basically, we started the season with 1,000 hypothetical dollars, and those players go on a waiver wire, and you do a blind bid based on the money that you have left. It sounds all complicated, but once I was a few weeks into it, I figured it out. Although I've spent all my money now, so I am now. I figured I was like, okay, I'll spend it early and get these good players.
Right.
But now I'm dealing with like bye weeks where I have players that aren't even playing, and I have to have someone come in for them, and I have players who have gotten injured, and it's a whole thing. But I'm having fun with it.
It's a thing. I love that, Joe. I love that you're doing that. And yes, we will be talking about this throughout the season because this intrigues me. This definitely intrigues me. I love this. That was a
little bit longer than I thought. Did you have it before you start?
I have really quick before we start.
Yeah.
I because my regular topic is going to be, it's a list this week. So it's going to go pretty quickly. So I thought about our podcast, Positively Board Gaming. And in a way, I think that some people may get the wrong idea, but what does that mean? I mean, it's double entendre, obviously, where it's all about board games, just positively board gaming. That's what we're doing. And then also positively board gaming. So it's a dual meaning, which I thought was very clever. I like when I lean in
that name, if anyone's
well, I like when I lean in and just say something incredibly stupid, So, and I think there's this idea that, and again, I brought this, I think I've touched on this before where, these guys are super positive about everything. And I understand, like, no one wants to listen to something that's super positive. It's like, that person never gets upset. What's wrong with them? Why don't they get upset? Why are they always so positive? And that's not what we mean by positively board gaming. We're both human beings. And Jamey and I have both expressed, we talked about our imperfect moments, both in gaming and in life. And it's like, obviously we're not positive all the time. What it means is we are just, we try to approach the podcast about, in the way of games that we really love, as opposed to talking about games that don't mesh with us, so that we don't respond to, because we only have a certain amount of hours every week to spend together as friends and to spend with you guys doing this podcast. So why not talk about stuff we like and spread that rather than talk about stuff that doesn't resonate with us? That's the way we feel. I mean, I feel like I'm speaking for both of us here, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So in the spirit of doing something different, Positively Board Gaming is about to go very dark, folks.
Oh, no.
Jamie's like, what's he doing? He's going off script. But in true Positively Board Gaming fashion, it's about a game that I absolutely love. So we're really not going dark here.
Okay.
So I told you I played Duel for Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings, Duel for Middle-earth.
Yes.
Love that game. I know you love that game as well. Wonderful game. Played it a couple times. It's just, I love it. It's Duel for Middle-earth. That gives you a clue here. It's a 2-player game. I open up the box. There's only one giant player guide. Now, again, this is not the end of the world. There's no shaming here. How can you only put one? But when I tell you, Jamey, there was a lot of iconography in this game, especially when you play it the first couple of times. There's a lot of symbols. And of course, once you play this game a bunch of times, the symbology becomes like, I know what that means. But it was driving me a little nuts that there was one player guide, which is a giant sheet the size of like the footprint of the board, right? And I was like, Lee and I were like fighting over the one sheet, over the one. And I was like, why isn't there a second one in here? It's driving me crazy. And again, it's not a big deal. We kept it in the middle. We just kept, we were laughing about it. Like, man, I'm going to have to print up a second one, which I'm going to do. I'll probably laminate both and make it look really pretty. But I was like, of all the games, a 2-player game, why couldn't there be 2-player aids in this thing? So it was driving me bonkers. And I was laughing about it because, again, I will make my own. And I've done this before, even for stuff that does have multiple ones. Because Jamey and I both talked about, it's nice to have like a player, player guide or a player aid for each player.
Right.
And especially, on a little card, or little players. But this was like a giant one, the size of the box, because there was so much. I was like, when I yelled up at the gaming gods, I just thought that was Very funny. See the things that drive me a little bit nutty. Again, that wasn't dark. That was dark for us, but not really dark. But yeah, so if you play the game, you may want to print up a second one, or just be aware that you're going to have to do sharesies, because there's only one, and sometimes that happens. What if they're listening? They go, you know what? Those guys Positively Board Gaming, they did it in such a nice way. We're going to put a second one in the box.
It's good feedback, to be honest. I mean, it's a 2-player game where sometimes you need to look at that sheet and not let the other player know what you're looking at, because
that's the whole thing
for a certain icon, and it is specifically a dueling game. Yeah, it does. I mean, we did it with Tokaido Duo. I specifically put character guides for each player. Not that there's anything secret about that, but just so you don't have to pass that rule.
Correct. So, again, I laughed at myself at the idea, because it was only a 2-player game. Because I've said this in like 6-player games, they give you like 3 or 4. I'm like, I want those 2 more, like a little baby. I'm like, I want 2 more in case we have a full player count of 6. So to play full player count of 2 now. You don't get a player A, but that's my little before we start. So that's about as negative as we're getting today, folks. Even though sometimes we do go dark, but not today. So Jamey, what would you? So again, we always talk about the format. We will talk about our treats of the day before we start, and then we do our topic that the other person doesn't know. What we're going to talk about. So Jamey, what are you going to talk about today?
Today, I thought I would talk about one of the games that I've played the longest, and really it's a genre of game that I've played the longest. And I'm talking about it because I was reminded of you the other day, and I have 2 different questions for you, 2 different levels of question as I talk about this topic. When I was around 12 or 13, a friend introduced me to Magic the Gathering. This is, now I think it's been around for 30 plus years. That sounds about right. So I was in on it pretty early. There was a set called Revised, and that was when I was introduced to this game. And I had a great time playing it. And it's one of those games that I've come back to off and on over the years, sometimes digitally, sometimes to build decks of cards. This is a collectible card game. If anyone hasn't heard of Magic the Gathering, it's a game where you collect cards, you open packs. And the format that I found that I really enjoy now, that I play maybe once a year, is that if a set comes out that I'm really excited about, I'll ask local friends if they want to join me for a draft, and I'll buy enough packs to do a draft, and we'll sit down and you open a pack, you pick a card out of it, and you pass it on to the next player. Kind of like awesome. 7 Wonders. Yeah. And you build a deck out of that, and then we do it round robin style, where everyone will play 1 game against each other person. And then eventually we get bored of it and we head home, because it usually is a couple hours to do this. And so I wanted to talk just a little bit about my love for this game, or my appreciation for this game. And also, as I was looking into this topic, I found one other collectible game that I had when I was a kid. I haven't played this game in years. This is a game called Dragon Dice. This was a collectible dice game with these beautiful, you love custom dice.
Oh yeah.
So I thought of you when I pulled this out, and apparently this game still exists. They still make this game. I have not heard anything about it for years, but I remember when I discovered this game, I'd already knew about Magic, but I found that it had these beautiful,
look at those, and they're chunky too. Yeah,
they're big chunky dice. I need to maybe revisit this game and try to play it and see if I can remember the rules, or whatever the modern rules of it are. But just the idea that they had a game where you could collect these beautiful dice was really cool for me as a kid. And now that I love custom dice. The reason this came to mind for you, and I might have a few other things to say about this, but I didn't want to throw it at you real quick.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if you have ever played a collectible or an expandable card game. And recently it came to mind, this is the other reason I thought of you, other than the beautiful dice, is that Magic the Gathering has announced a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles themed set. And I wanted to see if you had heard of that, or if you had any thoughts about that, or if that would be something that would intrigue you to play. Yeah. Okay. So what are your thoughts?
First of all, I've never played Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
I've never played a CCG, and I would really like to. I think I tried. God, was there a new Star Wars one that was announced? It's probably out now. That came out like in the past year.
Star
that I probably
Wars
played.
Unlimited.
Yes, but I tried at PAX. PAX Unplugged 2 years ago, I think, is when they were demoing and giving out. I still have like a couple of promo cards that I got from it. I always keep that stuff. It's terrible. I'm like a pile of promo stuff that I keep, because it's going to mean something to me at some point if I get the whole game, right?
Right.
And it really intrigued me. That was the first one that I thought, maybe this will be the one. But I think part of it for me, Jamey, is, and by this point, my personality as well. I'd say obsessed much, Mitchell. I worry for myself. What would
Hmm.
happen if I would get, and I don't mean that like jokingly, because I love to collect and I wonder if I went down that path, if it would be a path of no return for me with the way that I sort of dive headfirst into this hobby and to things that I love. That being said,
Yeah.
I would still love to really be taught properly and try one and get to have the experience before I even worry about, like, obviously it's like I'm sort of like half joking about, getting too sucked into that and having it be like a money sink for me. But I would
Yep.
really love to try it. I guess I haven't had the people around me that are into it,
Mhm.
because it's a very social sort of, it's a very social community, and it really is like a community of people that you're playing with. And I haven't had that, and I would love to try it. I would definitely love to try. And then you got me thinking, wow, what if there's a tournament like a guillotine tournament for that,
Oh,
where
that
you'd
would be
have each
cool.
person that got
Yeah.
eliminated, their cards would be distributed to the rest of the people that are in the
Ooh.
tournament.
Uh-huh. I like
I mean,
that.
would that play well? I
That's
mean, would that work well? I don't know how that work well in the context of an actual Magic the Gathering tournament, if you could do something like that, where the eliminated people
right.
have to distribute their cards among the people that are still there.
I
I
love
don't
that
know.
idea.
That's
Yeah.
it's kind of a mixing the two things you're talking about. So the answer is, wait, there was a two-parter. So no, I haven't,
Oh,
but
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
I
idea.
would get that. I would get that, first of all, just to have it, but
Uh-huh.
that makes me even more excited because I try to collect. I mean, I think who's doing Unmatched? That's not Restoration. Who
That's
does
Restoration.
that?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
Restoration.
Mhm.
I know they have their Adventures set, which is now I think fulfilling and maybe available for retail very soon at retail.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try and pick up, and that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles version of the Adventure system for that, the cooperative Unmatched system, which I really want to get. And
Yeah.
again, for those of you who don't know, I voiced Donatello in the TMNT movie back in 2007, I think it was. So I
Mhm.
have a special affinity for that franchise, for that character. But yeah, that I would definitely get that set. And that may be the thing that makes me jump. And it's not, see, that's another thing. It's not something we can do remotely because it's random, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. There is online play that you can do remotely, but
Right.
it's
With
yeah,
digital decks though, right? It's
with
more
digital
digital.
decks.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But that is something I would love to try. And yes, I will get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set because it's TMNT and I kind of have to. I feel like, that's my
Right.
jam a little bit. But yeah, that sounds awesome. You know what? When we get together, you may have to teach me
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
again, part of being brought into an experience is being brought in a way where, oh, okay, I was taught properly. I know how to play the game, and that allows me to appreciate and enjoy it more. Because sometimes
Right.
people that, like, oh, here, just take some cards and, this battles this, and you'll be fine. Like, okay, have you seen me play with Jamey online when I forget what to do? So yeah, you might have to teach me the game, but I would love to get involved.
What I do want to say, you mentioned the money sink uh, uh, phrase that I've heard before, and I understand that concern. But I often hear board gamers almost, and you weren't saying it this way, but I often hear board gamers almost dismiss a game like Magic as a money sink. But the way
Oh
I've
no, no,
approached
yeah,
it in the last few years is that it doesn't have to be that. That is certainly one way that you could go. You could go deep into it. You could try to buy all the most expensive cards. That is a money sink, unless you're. I mean, maybe you're having a lot of fun doing that, and then it
for me,
doesn't
it would
feel
be
that
just
way.
like enjoying it, wanting to have everything. But yeah, that's how I meant it. But
Exactly,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. But there is a way to play, and the way I play it, just doing a draft a year, or it's. I think it like any other game. I think any game can be a money sink, as we've learned. Like you can go deep into a game and deluxify it,
true.
or you can just say, "This is how I want to enjoy this game. I'm going to buy a few packs. I'm going to play. I'm going to play it all every now and then." And I think that's I I I like that approach. I've enjoyed that approach to Magic the Gathering, at least.
I think that's
Yeah.
smart, and I would love to have that sort of discipline. Um,
Yeah.
Again, you've met me, But yeah, no, you're right. I didn't mean it in a negative way, like, oh, I don't want to sing. I meant like I
Yeah.
know that once I get started, I'm going to want boosters and different sets, and then the
Right.
collectible nature will kick in for me as well.
Yeah.
Not just the ones that I'd want to use. Like, hey, here are the decks that I want to use right now. But I'm like, oh, that one's really cool. Oh, that one's I'd be all over it. But yeah, I hear about it and my spidey senses start tingling instantly. And yeah, so yeah, I will definitely eventually get into it, but I haven't had the right person or the right group, Jamie.
Yeah, it does. It does. That does help to have that. I'd love to hear what's what you said you have a list today. What's
It's a
on
little
what's your
list.
list about? Yeah.
I've been enjoying sort of mixing things up a little bit. Um, and I was going through my collection and I'm looking, sometimes I'll just pull out a game and reorganize it and look at the rule book if I haven't played it, so I'm ready.
Mhm.
and just, you know, look at the components. I like that aspect of it. It's a very sort of visceral sort of relationship with the board games that I really enjoy. And I thought I have some games with unusual themes or unique themes, and there are games out there. So let's talk a little bit about games with unique themes, because there are some games that are more traditional tropes that we're used to in board games.
Mhm.
You know, especially if they're area control and different skins on that. But then there are just some really interesting, not so much mechanism, but just really interesting, unique themes. I wanted to start. There are going to be a couple here that people know instantly. The first one, obviously, people will know, but other stuff we never talked about before. But when you decided to make viticulture, that was a theme that was not really explored in board games. Am I correct? That was a very unique theme at the time. It's still, and to this
Yeah.
day, I think I think there's a new winemaking game that's coming out either soon or just came out. But tell me what drew you to that theme, because again, this is not something that people thought about when playing a board game. Oh, we're making wine. That's very interesting, very different. It's beautiful, and it's so elegant the way you brought it to life. But and I'm sure you've talked about it in design diaries and on videos before, but just people that don't know, how did that game come about in terms of coming up with that theme and saying, this is what I'm going to build a board game around?
Well, the brief answer to that is that there were a couple games before that had a wine theme. One was Vinhos, which has since been re-released as an updated version.
Okay.
But the reason I chose it, I didn't know much about. I researched those games going into it, but the reason I chose it is that I chose a theme because my perception was that farming games go over pretty well with Euro audiences, and I was
Okay.
identify as a Euro gamer. Um, and that was part of it. And the second reason was that my perception was that people kind of romanticize the idea of running a vineyard. I think
Yes.
farming is less romanticized, but running a vineyard, you know, under the Tuscan sun, and you got these grapes and the wine. And so I was like, oh, I want that escapism as a theme for a game. I thought that would work well for a game.
And I think after playing it the first time, when I did play it the first time a while back, it was, and again, I talk about like a visceral connection or visceral response to a game. It sort of taught me that games can be so much more than moving bits around the table, even with a brilliant design. Just that, like you said, that you almost put yourself in that scenario, in that situation when you're playing, in
Yeah.
the different seasons. You can almost feel the different seasons washing over you as you're playing. You can feel the you know, sort of the warmth of it during when you're growing, and now you're collecting, and then you're going to be actually turning it into what I mean. There's definitely a visceral response to that, and it's nice that themes can do that to a game. And a lot of times, you know, sometimes themes are just slapped on. And I'm not saying that even in a bad way, because just sometimes it's a way of making a game with mechanisms that we're familiar with feel a little bit different by putting it in a different setting. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just fun to play a game and, okay, this one is set in space. It's a little bit different. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Do I feel like I'm in space? Not really, but I love the game and that's the setting. So I respond to it. But to go sort of deeper into a theme like a game with viticulture is sort of a special experience. And it made me realize how theme can be used if you really want to immerse yourself in that world and experience a
Yeah.
game in a different way. So that's what viticulture was for me. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. The second one on my list is something I've talked about before, which is Village Attacks, which is one of the first games, and there have been many since then, where you're actually playing as, and I put in quotey marks, you can't see if you're listening and not watching the video, I'm doing air quotes now, the bad guys, you know, are actually the heroes in the game, and the good guys are the ones that are attacking it. So basically, you're a bunch of monsters storming a castle, you know, in your castle, defending your castle, and the townspeople with pitchforks and, you know, torches are trying to storm the castle to get you out of there. And so you're really playing the bad guys, and that before that hadn't happened a bunch of times. I think we've seen a bunch of games since then where you're playing the quasi bad guys or the monsters, and, you know, it's fun to play as the monsters. But that was the first time thematically that I've seen or heard of, like, you playing the bad guys and your idea was to avoid the good guys that are coming at you.
Right.
Had you heard anything before that? Was there an older game that you can remember where you were actually playing the bad guys as the good guys?
Not no. I think there are a few games like that now where you're
Yes.
playing the bad guys, but
Yes.
not that might have been one of the first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first. So
Yeah.
now we're going to go to something a little darker, and that's a game called The Bloody Inn.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so the idea that you run your own little boutique hotel, You're killing the guests and then trying to hide the bodies from the police. Now, again, Jamie's like laughing / cringing. I mean, listen, hey, this wasn't my idea. I'm just saying, I'm just reporting the news, folks. But I mean, I know a lot of people that, for moral reasons, get upset. I try to take it as, look, it's a game. It's meant to be sort of tongue in cheek, a different sort of theme. Yes, it's very dark, but it's also something very different. Did you have that response when you first heard about this? Like, I have an idea. We're going to create a hotel where you kill the guests and hide the bodies from the police. Did you hear that when you first heard this? You're like, is this real? Is this really a game?
That was my reaction. But I mean, that's what dark humor is. Like, dark humor isn't condoning that activity. It is
correct.
It's not making light of murder. It's I don't even know how to describe it, but that dark humor is in a special category, I think. And,
yeah. And you know what? It's not that different from my world, meaning the entertainment, TV, and movies. I made a movie a long time ago called Dogfight, and I won't talk about it all here, but it was a really dark theme. And I know some people when the movie came out were taken aback by it. Like, how could you make a movie? But it's not like, again, it's not condoning what happened. It's talking about a period of time. It's almost like making a movie about slavery, the Holocaust, horrible parts of our past that really did happen. Right. And when you have to be very careful and obviously, very loving when you're making movies or board games that have themes, because there have been board games also that handle these same themes. And obviously it's not condoning it, but it's talking about a period of time, things that really happened. And, let's put it out there, because again, you get that old expression, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Mm-hmm. So just because a theme is out there doesn't mean obviously it's condoned, but it is something. And again, in this case, it's just dark humor. Right, so, and again, just remember, it's just a game, folks. But yeah, the bloody end was definitely one of those things where I was like, wow, that's really a game. I want to put, this is kind of interesting, like Sagrada. Okay. This is sort of a really cool thing where, it's a dice building game where you're using these beautiful dice to craft stained glass windows. What a great, interesting idea. Had this been done before, Jamie, that you know of, with the stained glass window? Because it's such an elegant thing. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Again, you talk about eye-catching games on the table. Yeah. This is one of those games people are playing, and if you've never seen it, it's beautiful to look at. But I kind of like that theme, don't you? There's something very warm and fuzzy about that too for me.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And it's very satisfying to build that the stained glass window over the course of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some games that I always think of Azul and Sagrada in the same. Yeah. Even though they're not the same, because I just think of the pretty down on the table with the tiles. And so I don't know why I group those games mistakenly, probably, but for some reason I think Sagrada, Azul's good. The last one I have, and this is a doozy. Okay. Jamie, you've heard of the game So You've Been Eaten?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to read the theme because I had to write it out because it's so funny that I had to actually, and I know the theme, but I actually purposely wrote it down. Okay. You are mining crystals within the digestive tract of a space beast. Let's let that settle in for a second. You're mining crystals. You're a space miner. Okay. And you're mining crystals that you can only find in the digestive tract of this space beast. If you're successful enough, they will pull you out of said digestive tract to go again. If not, well, you will meet your end in said digestive tract of space beast. Again, I think of this game, it's like, I love that these games exist, but it makes me wonder if someone was on some odd medication that I don't know about when they came. I'm joking, of course, but what a crazy great theme. And again, as a designer, do you hear these? Does it tickle you even more when you see other designers going this far outside the box? You're like, wow, they really went there. That is freaking awesome.
I like to hear stuff. I like to hear the themes like that, especially if you can describe it in a one sentence pitch. And I think that game is a brilliantly pitched game.
I tried, like what I said, I tried to truncate it, just mining crystals with the digestive of a space beast. I was like, okay, I see that movie. I could sell that movie tomorrow to Fox. I know I could. It would be out tomorrow. Of course, the space beast would be consuming Ripley, and Ripley would have to meet the aliens thing. But are there any that stand out? Because I wanted to put it out over to you. Are there any games? And again, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but we've been talking about it for a few minutes. So maybe, are there any unique theme? And it doesn't have to be like super weird. Just, unique or stuff that you don't see in a lot of games, which is why I talked about Viticulture when you first designed it, and these other games here. Can you think of anything that sort of has a unique theme that struck you while we were talking?
Well, for some reason, this is a little bit of an older one, but it came to mind when you were talking about Sagrada a little bit, and Bloody Inn was more Bloody Inn, I think, was oh, now I'm gonna blank on the name. I had it for a second. There's a game.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll come to me while I'm talking, or I'll put it in the
Yeah.
comments if I forget. But there's a game where the option of the game is that you have inherited a lot of money and you have to
Oh yeah.
keep the money, you have to spend it all.
Yeah.
People in the comments are gonna know it right away. Do
And
you
I
know
could
what it
see the box. I could see the box in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
The idea is to like just get rid of all of your wealth, and the person who does that best during the game, you're trying to
Exactly.
like spend all your money. So there's I think it's so people can't inherit it. It's like it got a really dark theme. It's like you don't want people to inherit it, so you just want to get rid of it.
Yeah,
Oh, what is
yeah.
it called? Oh, wow. I know the
Like, I
game. I know
know
exactly what you're talking
yeah.
about.
I think the movie is Brewster's Millions or something like that. But
Yes.
but this is a different game. I'll find it and put it in the show notes. But yeah, it's once I heard about that, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like a game where you're not trying to make the most money, you're trying to spend as much money as possible by throwing lavish parties to buy property you don't even want or need. I can picture the box. I just can't
Yes.
remember the name. Yeah.
Buying horses, and I think you could like buy horses, like all the stuff that you
Oh,
can do
totally.
within the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can. I think it's more elegant than just in case people are thinking this, like, oh, I just put $1 billion on the stupidest thing. About there's specific things you have to do. There
Yeah.
are options that you have, ways like ludicrous ways to spend your money that are actually listed in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that? Yeah, we're both going to think of it out. We'll be texting each other at midnight, going, "Ah, it came to me."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a very unique. And listen, we've also talked about, in addition to unique themes or unusual or unique themes, there are mechanisms that we've talked about in the past. I think EQ was one of those unique mechanisms that we've talked about where we've never really seen like an unlimited spending and whatever bidding system, which is kind of cool. So I'm always interested. I definitely want to hear, and I think this is really going to be fun to see what our listeners come up with, because you all that are listening have among all of you, I'm sure, have a vast experience with a bunch of different kinds of games. What is unique or unusual that has stood out to you? Something
Yeah.
that you haven't really seen before. It doesn't have to be too crazy, but again, it could just be very unique, because there's some game. And I'm sure if I look through everything, my collection, I find even more. I'm looking at a roll and write pinball game, Pinball the Roll and Write, which is also and it's good. It actually works. But who would think you can make a great pinball game that satisfies if you've ever played pinball and evokes that same feeling of playing pinball in the form of a roll and write? And it actually works. So there are a lot of unusually themed games out there that I think I look forward to hearing what other people have to say.
There's one other came to mind while you were saying that, because I think sometimes it isn't the entire theme of the game, but maybe part of the theme. There's a game called Vast, which is a precursor to the game called Root. Root is very popular, very well known. Vast is maybe less popular. But the hook for Vast, that I still think of to this day, I think it's still clever, is that it's a game about exploring a dungeon, a cave, and one player is like an archer, and one player is an ogre, things like that, like typical fantasy characters. But one player plays as the cave; they are the cave. And once I heard that, I was like, "Oh, that is so cool! Like that a player could be the environment for the game that the other players are trying to walk through or navigate." That's a cool hook.
I really love it. And that was Leader Games in one of their earlier games, or they always have that one word most of the time, monosyllabic games. It's usually like one syllable, except for ahoy, 2 syllables. What were they thinking? That's crazy talk.
I think it's all 4-letter words.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's 4-letter words. I was always thinking they're like one syllable. That's true. Ahoy. It's like ahoy messes everything up. But they always come out with some really cool games. And Root was another one of those games. Very, very interesting. And again, at its core, it's kind of a war game. It's kind of it really is. I mean, again, it's very different than what you think of as a war game, but really interesting. And on the surface, it's one of those games that has such depth to it. It's like you're playing as one of these, asymmetric groups, different peoples that live in the forest, and you're trying, you're fighting against each other. And then which is the bandit you play as the lone, like the Ronin? That's not the raccoon. What is it? What are you playing as the one character that's sort of on their own and is trying to, they're different. Oh God, it's going to drive me crazy too. It's a wonderful game, but there's so much depth to it, and it can get, I enjoyed it the times that I played, but I could see where it's easy to sort of get in the weeds with that game, because there's so much going on that if you really want to, you can really plan out so well. And I've played against people that were really good. And oh, how'd you even think that way? I couldn't even see the board the way you see the board. Some people that know the game are so good. But yeah, Root is also, you mentioned it's a wonderful game. Yeah, wow, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. We're out of time already, Jamey. And I still haven't remembered.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what unusual themes, unusual thematic hooks people have heard. I loved hearing your list, Mitchell. This is a great list. I did find the game's Last Will.
Yes.
The game where I spent all the money.
Yes. Yeah, Jamey.
And if anyone has experience with a CCG or collectible dice game, collectible card game, something where you're collecting something, have you found a way? What is that game? What got you into it? And have you found a way to still play it without maybe having that feeling that it is a money sink? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyone's thoughts about that in the comments.
I take back the whole money sink thing. I didn't mean it.
No, I'm glad you said it because you weren't saying it in a dismissive way.
No, I was saying it as a personal thing for me. Yeah. I know how I'll do it. I know how I will approach it. And, and I applaud me for it. I applaud. And listen, whatever time of season it is for you when you're listening to this, happy. It's one of the, we've never done one where we don't know exactly when it's going to air. So I hope you're having a great insert your month here and have a wonderful time celebrating insert holiday here with your family. And I hope you're all doing well. Jamey, I look forward to seeing you next week or in a month, depending on when this airs. So thank you for doing this. I'm just running with it. All right, man. I will see you sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you, Mitchell.